Welcome to the Global Law Program. You're with Andrew Bird, and we're going to explore all things law today, hopefully entertain you. This week on the Global Law Program, we're going to look at a quick look at the Law Reform Commission Act 1968. Pursuant to this Act, a Law Reform Commission is established to systematically develop and reform the law applicable to Queensland, including in particular the codification of such law. Sections 3 and 10 of that Act. Yes, there's a couple of purposes that the Law Reform Commission is established for. I have, in dealings with the government, got a response from the Law Reform Commission to the effect that they generally take their instructions from the Attorney General, so they don't really take any ideas for improvement of the law from the general public per se, even though the Act suggests that this may happen. So you might want to, petition for law change direct to the government in order to get law reform. Pursuant to my summary, there's the Queensland Law Reform Commission website, and at that website you can find the current reviews of the Commission. The reviews currently underway are the review of the Neighbourhood Disputes Dividing Fences and Trees Act 2011, and the review of child protection mandatory reporting laws for early childhood education and care sector. If you want to go to the website, just go to qlrc.queensland.gov.au/currentreviews.htm, and that's the quick review on the Law Reform Commission Act 1968. Further to the Law Reform Commission Act summary, I was in talks with the Attorney General, Jarrod Bleijie. We had a brief conversation about law reform. I think he kind of suggested that maybe that the new governor at the time, who was just put in the position, would actually take an involvement in Queensland law reform in the near future. That was back late last year. There's been a change of government, so nothing's really eventuated, but it's a good question whether the Governor of Queensland should have any part to play in law reform. It's a good question because Prince Charles in England over the years has actually made a lot of he's actually sent a lot of letters to government ministers trying to influence and change policies. In our situation in Queensland, the former Chief Justice is now the Governor. He would have a great lot of learnings and knowledge to impart on law reform, so the state could potentially benefit from such a collaboration. So interesting to see what actually goes ahead overseas. So I think we should be open-minded and perhaps even forget about positions. If people have some expertise to impart on law reform, the government should have them involved. That's my opinion. Andrew Bird out. News announcement for this week is that the British Library has released a Magna Carta page in celebration of 800-year legacy of the Magna Carta. The page has unique collection items, newly commissioned articles by leading experts, videos and animations with a range of leading teaching resources. Check out bl.uk/Magna-Carta. This week we have a treat for you. We have an interview that goes just over 5 minutes with Lindsay Marissa of the Small World Project. I hope you'll enjoy it. So we're here at the Botanical Gardens in Brisbane, and I'm talking with
Lindsay Marissa.
And Lindsay, to understand you've got a really cool website, what do you do?
I created a project called the Small World Project, and it's a movement to create more positivity in social media by showing commonalities and differences amongst cultures, but by focusing on the good things, because you rarely ever get to see that in the media.
That's wonderful. And could you give us a couple examples?
Well, I just started, and the countries that I started in are New Zealand and Australia, which don't typically get a bad rep. One example I would use that I am doing in the future is I'm going to the Middle East. And I know that at least where I'm from in the U.S., all we ever hear is about the bad stuff going on in the Middle East. And we never get to see the other end of the spectrum, which is that there are a lot of good people. There are a lot of beautiful places. There's a lot of reasons why you should want to visit the Middle East. And I don't discount that bad things happen, but I think it's really important for us to take note of the good things as well. So when I go there, I'm hoping to meet good people, tell their stories, and just show the beautiful sides that you don't really usually get to see.
That's a good project, and I do see things that I've been doing is that you do like throughout the world there's a lot of good projects that happen, but other cities and countries don't actually follow that example. So the more that everybody from every city knows what's going on, the more educated they are, there's a bigger chance of these projects being implemented across the board, and that can only be a good thing. So yeah, and so your what kind of other projects? What other do you actually interview a lot of people in your for your website?
I do. For each video, I think minus one that I did, which was kind of just a fun little music video with sightseeing. I do interviews with just people that I meet, and I like to keep it kind of random, so they aren't necessarily people who I set up interviews with ahead of time. They're just people who I meet along the way. Some of them are travelers, some of them are locals. A lot of them end up being people who are hosting me because I'm couch surfing along the way. Couch surfing is a website created as a cultural exchange for travelers. So I stay with people for free when I'm traveling, technically free, but you teach them about your culture, maybe do little things like cook for them or whatever. And then when you're home, you host people as well. So I do meet a lot of people through that. And it's, I don't know, it's really great, like meeting and hearing all these different stories, and I get different perspectives of each place that I'm in as well. For example, in Australia, I may talk to a local who's lived here his or her entire life, and they have one perspective. Then I talk to someone who has lived here a few years, but not from here. And then I can also talk to someone who is just visiting and barely been here at all. And it's great to hear how Australia looks through their eyes, because it's all completely different, but just as wonderful.
And these interviews, where are they at? On your website or on YouTube, or what social media do you use?
They are both on YouTube and my website. I put them on YouTube first, and then I link to them through my webpage, which is thesmallworldproject.org or .com or .net. It all links to the same thing. And then I post them on Twitter. I post them on Facebook. So they're kind of all over the place. I'm trying to get it all out there in every way possible.
So I understand you're doing these. You're uploading the interviews as you're traveling. So when you get home, will you have a lot to do, or do you plan your next trip then?
When I get home, I will probably, if I'm keeping at the same pace that I'm at now, probably have 2 or 3 videos left to upload. Because right now I'm doing it where when I leave a city, the video gets online about probably 2 or 3 weeks later. Australia is a little more difficult because I'm stopping so many places, but I'm hoping to keep that pace. But when I do get home, I just need to, unfortunately, it'll be time to go back to the grind and save some money again. But an interesting thing is I saved all of my money for this trip by bartending, because I really want to encourage people to travel. So by saying, hey, I saved all this money working a job that pretty much anyone can do. It doesn't require a higher education or anything like that. But every single cent that I saved, aside from a little bit of crowdfunding, I made $2,000 offline, but the rest was all me. Sorry, I keep moving away. I really want to get more people traveling, because despite the fact that hopefully these videos will have a great impact and people will start having better views of different cultures, I think the best way that you can get a positive view on a place is by going and seeing it yourself and meeting these people one-on-one and actually creating your own memories and experiences.
That's wonderful. And for the listener at home, whereabouts are you from?
I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, but the last place I lived and where I was bartending was Nashville, Tennessee. And before that, I lived in Los Angeles. I've moved around a bunch since I graduated high school: Chicago, North Carolina, Orlando, all over.
That's wonderful. All the best with your traveling, and maybe you could do a shout out to people living in Brisbane. Just a quick hello.
Yeah, of course. Hello, Brisbane. If you are wandering around and see a girl in a dorky t-shirt that says "Live Once, Love All," the Small World Project, walk up and tell me that you want your story shared.
Maybe give her a hug. Okay, thank you for your interview. We'll catch you around.
Thanks.